Hey traders, hopefully you guys are doing well, trading safe over the weekend here. We've got some things to talk about on the Bitcoin chart, some magic internet money, if you will. Something it hasn't done since 2020, so we're going to discuss that. The weekly closure is tomorrow. That's the topic of the video. We have the monthly closure coming in on the 30th, and then we've got some Fib time to speak about as well. So we will discuss the low time frame ranges, our weekly, our monthly range, our overall structural range, and our quarterly ranges. We're going to wrap all this up under 10 minutes, I promise. So you guys are going to get a really in-depth view of what I'm thinking going into the next week. So yeah, we've got one level on the chart. It's $32,290.50. And the last time there was a candle body closure beneath that, or at least a candle body at all beneath it, was on a weekly time frame, that is, the last week of December in 2020. So it has been almost 7 months since Bitcoin has traded below this and closed below it on a weekly time frame. It's been a while. So this is kind of a change of behavior. When you look at it, this is an important level to keep an eye on here, that 32,290, call it 32.3, whatever you want to call it. There are a couple other key levels that we're going to speak about, up to about $34,000. I do want to make sure I'm showing you those on the chart accordingly, though. Those are range-based data. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm not really looking at this as strong price action. I do think that my bias before was going to be a short squeeze, obviously, to the upside, looking for that 50K area or MPOC, depending on how this resolves. But at this point, I do feel like the bulls would have made their move if they were going to. I am still holding a small long from this swing failure pattern. You guys know that was the level to challenge here. So it did take that level out by a little over $100, and so that made me happy, got me a great entry. But the issue is, price really isn't doing anything with it. So while I am willing to hold on to that position and potentially allow it to get stopped out, I am sitting 1x short in other accounts from a little higher. So there are some things to consider in both directions. You guys know me. I do believe that the journey to 20K is probably something we can look for. There's just enough volume to support it. Now, I do think we should view that area as a region. And I know that's really kind of a cop-out, not giving you an exact number, but I do think that coming down to 20K is going to be potentially bumpy. When I say that, I just mean like that 23 to $24,000 region is kind of your, that's your question mark. Will we get all the way down there? That's the first area of interest. So if you're buying spot, you should probably ladder in. That's been for me, that's been the way I've been going about Ethereum, for instance. If I'm going to add to Ethereum bags, that's how I'm going to do it. But I'm not leverage trading Ethereum at all. So a lot of people think the bottom was in for Ethereum a long time ago. You guys know me. I think it can come all the way back down to like $1,000 over time, of course, over time. But you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket there and think it's going to go there. You have to make sure that you're taking care of that on the way down. So we have our key level here. Let's go to the daily. Why do I think we'll probably pony up somewhere near this level at 32,290? Well, I mean, it's the same as yesterday when we had our level here at 31,610 when we were talking about the daily level that we needed to hold, right? Where did the price come back down to? Came back right to the key level where everybody's watching, and basically closed just underneath it or right on top of it, however you want to look at it. It closed right at that price. So that to me is something that we can probably look for going into this weekly closure, probably hovering around that 32,290 level. And we do have some, volume data to support that. So I do think that's where we're heading going into weekly closure. Main reason being is if we take a look at our weekly range, our developing range, so to speak, you can see that we are within it. It does look like we're finding acceptance at this point, and that the point of control of this range does come in right around 32.5, which is a couple $100 away from the weekly level that we are talking about. So closing inside of this area or around this area is not out of the question at all. Now, if we start to add in other range data like our monthly range, right? We've got our June range here, which I do need to update, it looks like. We'll go ahead and update that real quick here and get in an updated June range. And you can see that the updated June range is also coming in really, really nicely, right around just over $32,000 for the value area low, which is also showing me that Yeah, 32,000, to 32,300 is probably going to be an area of contention. It would be an area that needs to get flipped. Going into that weekly point of control, this little box here is going to be important. So this is the first box of interest. From there, you do have the weekly value area high at 34K, and that level does matter. If we go over to ATAS and we take a look at our weekly value, our total value area low for this entire range or structure right here, you can see that it is coming in right around 34K. So again, the range data doesn't lie here, guys. This weekly value area high coming in at a very key level as well, getting it back above $34,000 would be important. And then you guys know my opinions on the June open at 37,253. That is a monthly open, so if you can flip that into a monthly support, we can potentially squeeze higher. I personally don't think that just because we go higher from this range, it means all-time highs. I know a lot of people are of that opinion. I think it's just going to be a lower high. It's just something that takes time. Distribution takes time. Rarely do things just go straight down the way they have been. But when they do, you just need to be patient and have the areas of value that you were going to buy Bitcoin or whatever coin you're looking at lined up already. So sorry, Discord's having a car discussion as somebody is buying a car. It looks like Audi is the conversation right now. So if you're an Audi fan, it looks like that's the car he's going to choose. And if you guys don't use anything like ATAS or XO or whatever you're using for order flow and volume, and you're just using the TradingView volume indicators, yeah, I mean, 34K also lines up really nicely here. So again, this is your first area of interest here, probably about 32,000 up to about 32.6, give or take. And then we are just basically eyeballing 34K. Can we get above that? And then you've got your point of control here at 35.8. The median's coming in right at the June open. So those are the next levels. That's how I'm looking at it. It's baby steps until it's back above those levels. I do think the pressure is onto the downside, and you would be still making lower highs even in a local downtrend. You can see that coming all the way back up here does not exactly denote you getting above and making a higher high. In fact, it would just be another lower high. So in reality, this is hard to be too bullish on. I know I've seen a lot of the wick off or whatever methods out there, but at the end of the day, guys, those are patterns and they are fallible. Nothing is ever 100%. Neither is volume data, anything like that. I mean, it's going to give you an edge if you use it correctly, of course. So for me, there's been nothing saying to additionally add to my long that I took off the lows. That trade off the lows was exactly that. It seemed like a good area of value at the time, and it has held on to be a good area thus far. And if something changes, we cut the trade and we move on to the next one. So from there, guys, we are looking at high time frames only. So if you guys recall, we are watching our current quarterly range right here. You can see we are at the lows of it. And then beneath us, we do have this NPOC coming in about 19,228. They don't always hit exactly. Now, every single one has filled except for the one that was at the lows here. You guys remember that was the 30, I want to say it was like 3,500, and we got down to 37. So it missed it by a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, it did really challenge it pretty well. So this is what we're looking at. I think resolution of this is going to give us our next target. Coming up to this region right here doesn't necessarily mean a continued bull market and that we're going to all-time highs. It's just a trappy area to keep in mind, and I do think 50K before that is just such an important area to get above. So that's the bullish case, breaking this to the highs and then stair-stepping our way up into this region. I do believe that becomes a target. Otherwise, yeah, we are looking down. You need to be aware of this little guy right here. There is some support, but in reality, I am still looking all the way down into this region, right around the 19,228 area. That would be the big target. All right, so Fib time. Let's talk Fib time going into the weekly closure and get into that, because you guys know that we were looking at this as a really nice 3 drives pattern, okay, and we've been working the distribution off of that pattern for a little while now. There's my important days. You can see there's our 3 drives. There's Elon's tweet. That's probably one of my favorite Fib times of all time, just because people lost their minds. And then we've got our July 5th coming in. So July 5th is a day of interest, but we do have our yearly Fib time come in. Okay, so we had our 382 right here on entry of the range, the golden mean ratio, right? And very nice and then you have your 0.5 coming in on the 2nd of July. Now, to piggyback off those two things, so July 2nd and July 5th, right? So we go out to weekly here. Let's get rid of our 3 drives. We no longer need it, but let's go ahead and pull back up that key level we were just talking about on the weekly, okay? So potentially closing below. Let's say that we do close below. It doesn't necessarily mean anything just closing below this. Just a half body candle. It is a change of behavior. It is something we haven't done in a long time. But if price just reverts right back to the range and continues up, this means nothing. So what you would want to see is you would want to see close below. The candle will open. It may even go back above the level, but ultimately close below again. So you want to see, whatever it may be, whether the candle comes up and does something like this and retraces to a common area and then is rejected, or maybe it just opens up and rejects right away. That's what, if you're bearish and you're looking for trend continuation, this is what you would be looking at on a weekly time frame, in my opinion. This would be a good enough thing to say, okay, well, we've had a change of behavior. We're now closing again, not only outside of this overall structure, because you can see we haven't been closing below it at all. This would look pretty bad. The timing on it, though, July 2nd and 5th being the 2 Fib times coming up, if we take a look, July 2nd is Friday of next week. That's when CME's close, so we go into the weekend. And then the 5th is that Monday, so that would be Sunday night closing, which would be the weekly close. So next week, we do have 2 interesting days. It is Friday, and then that following Monday when markets open, or you can look at it as when markets close officially, the weekly close. So that's what I've got for you on Bitcoin. Those are the 2 Fib dates. They're lining up with potentially the idea that we are about to do something we haven't done in 6 months. We're talking about a potential SR flip if this is not regained on a weekly closing basis and confirmed as support. From there, we would be looking at heading down. I know I said 10 minutes, but let's stretch it out just a little bit. I have made a few things here, just looking at order blocks on the weekly time frame. All right, and if we go out to a daily here, so you can get an idea of how well respected it is, these are your levels right here. So let's go out to a 3-day, and you can see these are the levels: 19,565, 18,507, 17,882, and 16,200. Again, those line up really, really nicely with our initial targets from volume, and using the quarterly ranges and those POCs. So this would be the first area of interest. I would probably ladder some in right here, just because that, like I said, that 23 to 25K level, those are kind of, in betweens. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, like I said. So you do want to make sure that you are taking care in this region to not just fall in love with the idea that Bitcoin has to go to these levels. Price definitely doesn't have to do anything. So if you are looking to dollar cost average in, make sure you are, getting at least some starter positions here and then adding in on size if this is a hodl position for you. If you're a trader like me, you might not just have any resting positions here. You might want to see the reaction and then trade accordingly. And as a margin trader myself, that's my strategy there. Now, if I'm adding to my bag long term, I'm going to do the first strategy. So hopefully this was a useful video for you guys, that you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. That's how I know that you guys enjoyed the content, and it allows me to make more content like it. So thanks again, guys, and I will catch you in the next video.